The Project Gutenberg ebook of the Philistine. This ebook is for the use of anyone anywhere in the United States and most other parts of the world at no cost and with almost no restrictions whatsoever. You may copy it, give it away or reuse it under the terms of the Project Gutenberg license included with this ebook or online at www.gutenberg.org. If you are not located in the United States, you will have to check the laws of the country where you are located before using this ebook. Title: The Philistine, a Periodical of Protest, Volume 3, Number 3, August 1896, Author, Various Editor, Albert Hubbard. Release date, January 11, 2024. Ebook number 72688. Language, English. Original publication, East Aurora, The Society of the Philistines, 1895 credits, Hikula 03 and the online distributed proofreading team at https://www.pgdp.net. This book was produced from images made available by the Hathitrust Digital Library. Start of the Project Gutenberg ebook. The Philistine. The Philistine, a Periodical of Protest. Let me take you a buttonhole lower. Love's Labor's Lost. Printed every little while for the Society of the Philistines and published by them monthly. Subscription, $1 yearly. Single copies, 10 cents. August, 1896. The Philistine. Contents for August. Misraer, Hiram Dreyer McCaskey. An Hour with Me. Cnas, G. W. Stevens. Sunrise over the City, William James Baker. The Captives, Ouida. If Love Were All, Edith Neal. The Man on a Bicycle, Harvey Lewis Wickham. The Steward, C.P.N. Let There Be Gall Enough in Thy Ink, Adeline Knapp. The Worshippers, Charles P. Nettleton. Side Talks with the Philistines. Conducted by the East Aurora School of Philosophy. Have you seen the Roycroft Quarterly? The Stephen Crane number is attracting much attention and we believe it will interest you. 25 cents a copy. Entered at the post office at East Aurora, New York, for transmission as mail matter of the second class. Copyright, 1896, by B.C. Hubbard. Notice to collectors of artistic posters. On receipt of 10 cents we will send to any address, a copy of our largely illustrated catalog of 500 posters exhibited by the Echo and the Century. The Echo is the pioneer in fostering the poster in America. It began its department of poster lore in August, 1895, and has printed it fortnightly, with many illustrations, ever since. Each issue of the Echo bears a poster design, in 2 or more colors, on its cover. During the past year 7 of these covers were by Will H. Bradley. The Echo is $2 a year, 10 cents a number. New York, 130 Fulton Street. Look out for the second and popular edition of Cape of Storms, price 25 cents. 1 cent free with every year's subscription to the Echo. The Lotus. A miniature magazine of art and literature uniquely printed and illustrated. A graceful flower Rochester Herald. It is a wonder Chicago Times-Herald. The handsomest of all the bibelots, the Echo. Alone in its scope and piquancy, Boston ideas. Artistic in style and literary in character, Brooklyn Citizen. The prettiest of the miniature magazines, Syracuse Herald. Each bi-weekly visit brings a charming surprise everybody. The Lotus seeks to be novel, unconventional and entertaining without sacrificing purity and wholesomeness. It seeks to be a medium for the younger writers. The Lotus is published every 2 weeks and is supplied to subscribers for $1 a year, foreign subscription $1.25. Sample copy 5 cents. On sale at all newsstands. The Lotus, Kansas City, M.O. The Roycroft Quarterly, being a goodly collection of literary curiosities obtained from sources not easily accessible to the average book lover. Offered to the discerning every 3 months for 25c. per number or $1 per year. Contents for May, I glints of wit and wisdom, being replies from sundry great men who missed a good thing. 2. Some historical documents by W. Irving Way, Philip Hale, and Livy S. Richard. 3. As to Stephen Crane. E.H. A preachment by an admiring friend. 4. 7 poems by Stephen Crane. 1. The chatter of a death demon. 2. A lantern song. 3. A slant of sun on dull brown walls. 4. I have heard the sunset song of the birches. 5. What says the sea? 6. To the maiden the sea was blue meadow. 7. Fast rode the night. A great mistake. Stephen Crane. Recording the venial sin of a mortal under sore temptation. 6. A prologue. Stephen Crane. The Philistine. No. 3 August, 1896. Vol. 3. Mice Rare. Joy and sorrow, mirth and tears, darkness, sunshine, kind words, jeers, the flitting moments, halting years, strange contrasts these. Today the youth, tomorrow age, we read, and then we turn the page, the fool we honor, not the sage sad travesties. The dancers gay, the open grave from footlights flare to solemn wave the sail of souls Christ came to save life's tragedies. Hiram Dreyer McCaskey. An hour with me seen as 1, 2, 3 5 men that call themselves my friends, all wishful to borrow money. Stadilius, you will please to make a note of these 5 gentlemen, and give orders that on no account are they to pass my vestibule again. The settlement of society under our prince has done much to stamp out the dangerous classes, but we have not yet got rid of the borrowers. I think it a little hard that after I have neglected my estate for half my life to expel roguery by the front door that it should creep in at the back. Did you inquire, Stadilius, why my cook served white sauce with quails last night? Very well, I have made it a rule to deal with my people in person, send for him. It is not possible to maintain a household well regulated, unless the servants come personally into touch with the master. Plato, you served me last night a dish which, had any of my friends been present, would have shamed me forever. As it was, my dinner was ruined. It is incompetence such as yours whose ill effects Rome has struggled these 8 lustrums to efface. You will be sold in the market tomorrow. Go. You see now, Stadilius, the wisdom of my rule to permit no freedman in my household, all my servants are my own property. You will buy me the best cook in Rome in 3 hours. What, sir? You are a free man, and I employed you only to work at my pedigree and my library? True, I am satisfied with you. But understand that if I bid you litter my horses you will do it, or I sell you up tomorrow. Now, sir, the best cook in Rome is Iulus Antonius's Dama, buy him. Antonius is a rich man? Very true, but I think we need not be afraid of that. We can tempt him, I imagine, Stadilius. At any price whatever, do you understand? And not a penny more than he will sell at, understand that also. If he is stubborn, hint at my influence with the prince, that will be sufficient. Go. Iulus knows that he is whispered against, and he looks to me to prop him up. I shall not do so. Again and again I have urged on Octavian the necessity of putting these malcontents out of the way. His father's son cannot but be a danger to a settled state, however soundly disposed himself. It appears to me that Octavian is losing his aptitude for politics, and Agrippa exercises the worst possible influence upon him. This stupid, expensive system of banishment, it should never have had my voice had I remained in politics. Thucydides, I have told you once already I am not to be disturbed in meditation. The poet Horace is in attendance. Horatius, I think you mean, avoid these vulgarisms, Thucydides. Bid Horatius wait. Indeed, I doubt not whether Octavian had at any time any real grasp of the principles of government. I was deceived by the facility with which he lent himself to my views. He is a man incapable of understanding any system between militarism and license. Of the finer arts of statecraft I am afraid he knows very little. How often have I explained to that man how the law of treason might be developed into an infallible engine of sound government. Yes, I was wise to leave politics, though Octavian is ungrateful to his mentor. Well, I will see Horatius. He, at least, with all his faults, is a faithful soul. A man I have made. Good day, Horatius. I hope you are well and keeping sober. Have you brought the work I commissioned? Very well, let me see it. There has been a very great improvement in your manner of writing, Horatius, since I took you up. The large P's are very much bolder than they were. But what is this? This is not the epistle dedicatory I ordered. That comes second. Ah. Yes, here it is, you should have given it to me first. Maecenas, born of grandsire kings, quite right, grandsire kings is very good. It is not, of course, literally correct, but one may, in poetry, fairly write the particular term grandsire for the general ancestor. O my defense and proud delight! Proud delight! Now I think I shall correct that to dear delight. I think the alliteration is well worth securing, and you may allow yourself a familiarity in literature, Horatius, where all men are equal, which, as I have no doubt you felt in writing, would be highly unbecoming in society. Proud delight does you credit as a man, my good Horatius. As a poet I permit, nay, I invite you to write dear. To hug the post with wheels afire, the piece gets a little tame in the middle, Horatius. Ah! What is this? But deign me so to canonize, o'er highest heaven my fame will rise. Yes, very happy. A very good ode, Horatius. You have distinctly added to your reputation. I am very glad to note that you disavow that most dangerous tendency, which I am sorry to see is growing among some of my poets, to defer to the popular judgment. Even poor Virgil is tainted by it in this last epic, as he calls it, published in one of those measly magazine-lets. I am afraid Virgil is coming to think more of the so-called glories of Rome than of his truest friends. Such defection on your part, I warn you candidly, I should feel very deeply. Now what is this other? I hope none of that Epicurean stuff which is such a handicap, if I may so phrase it, upon your best powers for good. Ah, Posthumus, how fleet, the years slip by, no prayers may stay, since beldam age knows not delay, since death pursues with ruthless feet. I think you might have found a fitter name than Posthumus, but it is very passable. I suppose you have verified all these mythological allusions in the Greek. It is not your industry I need ever distrust. Your land, your house, your yielding wife renounce, and of these trees you trim, none follows, save the cypress grim, the lordling of the little life. Yes, the tone of the work is quite good. And then really, Horatius, you are too annoying, then you must spoil all again in the last stanza. I have warned you 1,000 times against that, Horatius. Listen, sir, to what you say here. He breaks your seals, the worthier heir, he sweeps your bins, the worthier lord, dashing imperial winds abroad, while pontiffs envy and despair. Now, understand once and for all, Horatius, that I will not have such pernicious and disloyal trash as this put out to pollute the state. You say you meant nothing impious. Well, then I will ask you, Horatius, who is chief pontiff? The prince, so I had thought. And then you say you had no intention of disloyalty? In that case I will merely answer that you have expressed yourself very badly. You will agree, I suppose even you who were out with Brutus, when I understand you threw away your shield, that what we must all work for in Rome, is a settled social order? And I suppose that you are not incapable of perceiving that this is impossible without the maintenance of religion? And perhaps you may have heard that His Highness is supreme head of our religion? And then, do you tell me, sir, that you did not see that this last stanza, this pontiff's ambition, or whatever it is pernicious in the highest degree? Now this is what I shall do. I shall make you, Horatius, write an ode of 14 stanzas in praise of His Highness as chief pontiff. Take your tablets and write down the heads of the poem, as I dictate them. First, the deplorable desuetude. I beg your pardon, I think I was asking you to take down the heads of the ode. What? You say that I gave you the subjects of this one? Very possibly, though I do not remember. With the ode as a whole I am very well satisfied. You say I gave the hint of the pontiff? Very true, I recollect it quite well, but it was not to be used, or wasted, in the spirit in which you have used it here. Perhaps, however, you meant it to refer to the pontiffs of the old regime, whose unworthy excesses I may have doubtless mentioned to you at some time. I could wish, Horatius, that your execution were on a level with your intention. You lay yourself open to a great deal of misconstruction. I think we must substitute late for while. What is that you are sputtering about Minucius? I told you to glance at Minucius. Well, in one respect you are quite right. I do not remember that I ever spoke of him to you, but the extravagance of Minucius not only makes him a man impossible to be seen abroad with, but constitutes a great scandal on the pontificate. And I tell you, sir, I tell you that that man's insolence to his betters is more than any well-ordered state could endure. He has got the prince's ear, and presumes upon it. Yes, you may jab at Minucius whenever you can, and as hard as you can. I am very glad I suggested that, and you have taken up the hint very cleverly. Sit down, my good Horatius, you must be tired of standing, and we men of letters are all equal, whatever our social position. I will read you a chapter of my own history that I threw off last night. You will remember, of course, what happened while I was urban prefect. G.W. Stevens. Sunrise over the city. With restless searching are the night winds spent, a solitary bird pipes love notes lorn, portent of life new wakening with the morn. Long lines of flaring lamps still burn their stent, with gloom upon the city's bosom blent, but 'bove the dark thread of a cloud low drawn, white as a wraith, pale glows God's holy dawn, the morning star her brightest ornament. As gathering splendor floods the world with light, the whilom watcher sleeps, forgetting grief, and though 'neath fuming smoke, mid roll of wheels, the sordid city wakes her giant might lustful of gain, her deepest heart yet feels the benediction of that vision brief. William James Baker. The captives. Amongst them there was one colossal form, on which the sun poured with its full radiance. This was the form of a man grinding at a millstone, the majestic, symmetrical, supple form of a man who was also a god. In his naked limbs there was a supreme power, in his glance there was a divine command. His head was lifted as though no yoke could ever lie on that proud neck, his foot seemed to spurn the earth as though no mortal tie had ever bound him to the sod that human steps best rode, yet at the corn mill he labored, grinding wheat like the patient blinded oxen that toiled beside him. It was the great Apollo in fury. The hand which awoke the music of the spheres had been blood-stained with murder, the beauty which had the light and luster of the sun had been darkened with passion and with crime, the will which no other on earth or in heaven could withstand had been bent under the chastisement of Zeus. He whose glances had made the black and barren slopes of Delos to laugh with fruitfulness and gladness, he whose prophetic sight beheld all things past, present, and to come, the fate of all unborn races, the doom of all unspent ages, he, the far-striking king, labored here beneath the curse of crime, greatest of all the gods, and yet a slave. In all the hills and vales of Greece his Iopian sounded still. Upon his holy mountains there still arose the smoke of fires of sacrifice. With dance and song the Delian maidens still hailed the divinity of Leto's son. The waves of the pure Ionian air still rang forever with the name of Delphinios. At Pytho and at Clarus, in Lycia and in Phidus, his oracles still breathed forth upon their fiat terror or hope into the lives of men, and still in all the virgin forests of the world the wild beasts honored him wheresoever they wandered, and the lion and the bear came at his bidding from the deserts to bend their necks and their wills of fire meekly to bear his yoke in Thessaly. Yet he labored here at the corn mill of Admetus, and watching him at his bondage stood the slender, slight, wing-footed Hermes, with a slow, mocking smile upon his knavish lips, and a jeering scorn in his keen eyes, even as though he cried, "O brother, who would be greater than I? For what hast thou bartered to me the golden rod of thy wealth and thy dominion over the flocks and the herds? For 7 chords strung on a shell, for a melody not even thine own. For a lyre outshone by my syrinx hast thou sold all thine empire to me. Will human ears give heed to thy song now thy scepter has passed to my hands? Immortal music only is left thee, and the vision foreseeing the future. O God! O hero! O fool! What shall these profit thee now? Thus to the artist by whom they had been begotten the dim white shapes of the deities sometimes speak. Thus he sees them, thus he hears, whilst the pale and watery sunlight lights up the form of the toiler in fury. For even as it was with the divinity of Delos, so is it likewise with the genius of a man, which, being born of a god, yet is bound as a slave to the grindstone. Since even as Hermes mocked the lord of the unerring bow, so is genius mocked of the world, when it has bartered the herds, and the grain, and the rod that meets wealth, for the 7 chords that no ear, dully mortal, can hear. He can bend great thoughts to take the shapes that he choose, as the chained god in fury bound the strong kings of the desert and forest to carry his yoke, yet, like the god, he likewise stands fettered to the mill to grind for bread. Ouida! If love were all. Prisoner of Zenda. If love were all. Can love be less than all here in the world the God of love hath made? If love were all and love were unafraid, and knew not death's corrupting funeral pall. O princess, with thy soul by heavenly call in love's divinest panoply arrayed, hath thy soul sight thy love sight so betrayed that love from his supremest place should fall? Yet wert thou right. Thy woman's heart divine the soul of love's transcendent perfectness, for like a star within a mist confined and burning through love's soul is righteousness. Thus love is all though, as on Calvary, renunciation love's fulfillment be. Edith Neal. The Man on a Bicycle. The man on a bicycle came panting up a hill at the beginning of a large town. "Hello! Knickerbockers," cried the man on foot, "do you call that the gait for a scorcher? Why, it ain't more'n a pair UV bars." "That's all right, little boy," returned he of the wheel. "Little boy, yourself. Didn't you know it was $5 fine for ridin' on the sidewalk? Is it? All right. I'll pay when I come back," and the man on a bicycle, encountering a level piece of road, put an end to further conversation by a sudden spurt. but the cyclometer was not to make a steady advance that evening. A surface crossing lay ahead, blocked by a belated freight train. The engineer knew his business and meddled continually with the throttle. After going about 2 car lengths in one direction, the train would stop, remember something left behind, and back up. That is the way to keep a crowd pacific. Give them plenty to hope for and they forget to fight. The wheelman rode in slow circles for a while, but finding the slush and snow too deep for this exercise, was forced to a humiliating dismount. "Mister," shouted a dirty urchin with a cold, "did yer know yer AD and God no lied? $5 fine and the cops in the depot." "Oh, break away," snarled the wheelman. "Young man," lisped a Willie boy, "I thought those things we called in, you know. I wish someone would call that thing in." This retort was pointed at the Willie boy, and raised a laugh. "How long are they going to keep us waiting here in the cold?" muttered a querulous old gentleman. "It's against the law, and the company ought to be prosecuted." "The present company," ventured a bashful young man, who was dressed as if going somewhere. "No, the present company is always accepted," came from obscurity. The man with the bicycle snapped his bell uneasily. He was in a hurry. Of course, if you live much on a wheel, hurry becomes chronic, engendered perhaps by the accustomed sense of rapid motion, but, like many of his class, he had that fellow feeling for petty law breakers, which comes by taking chances against city ordinances. The fellow at the valve was taking his chances too, with excellent success. The patience of an American crowd approaches the miraculous. 50 engagements were being broken and 10 times as many toes were freezing, all because one railroader was too lazy to draw a coupling pin. Yet so long as the cars continued to move, no one felt called upon to interfere. "How many minutes may a crossing legally be blocked?" demanded the querulous old gentleman, pulling out his watch. "10, I believe," answered the flagman, soothingly. "10? Why, we been here most 15 now. S'posen that train on the down track UD move up just as the sun was movin' away, which UD you have rested then?" The querulous old gentleman looked at the newsboy reprovingly, but said nothing. "Might try and have the president pulled," suggested someone. "What of?" "The road." "Whoop-a-dick. He's gotta pull himself." The newsboy smiled approvingly upon his MOT, during a silence that might be felt. It was a relief when the wind picked up the tones of a brass band, playing in front of the theater, and wafted them in that direction. "Sub-UD odd to pud runners on Thad bike, see," volunteered the dirty urchin with a cold. This aroused the newsboy to a stroke of business. "New York Evening Sun or WORL? 1 cent. Sun or Whirl?" Here the bashful young man who was dressed as if going somewhere, separated himself, and cried, "Conductor, cut this train in two, or I will have you arrested. There, you're done. Cut it short. Go, take a walk," were expressions which greeted the sally. The bashful young man took up the thread of his private life where it had broken off, and wished he had separated himself further. A touch on the sleeve aroused the man with the bicycle. There stood the man on foot. "Hello. Knickerbockers. Horse-tied, eh? Thought I'd catch up to you. Where is your century run? Didn't I say that there was no scorching gate?" The man with the bicycle said something that commenced with "damn," and then, seeing a pale frightened-looking girl nearby, wished he hadn't. In the forgetfulness of his remorse he smirched the newsboy with his machine. "You most certainly want to get done hittin' me with that there last year's safety," began the latter, speaking loud enough to be heard by all, but his philippic was cut short by the arrival of train orders, and the clearing of the road. The man with the bicycle did a handsome pedal mount and spun skillfully through the surging mob, catching cries of "See that burning safety! Gimme a ride, boss," and the like, from those left behind. But the man on a wheel continued to ride. The man on foot continued to walk. And the band played on. Harvey Lewis Wickham. The Steward. A Ballad of Death. A beggar wandered forth to beg. A soul may dwell in heaven or hell. At night he groaned aloud, when past one bearing stores the king wished last. Now give me food, for the dear Christ's sake, or heaven or hell, oh, choose ye well. Moaned he the weak, stretching his hand. I trow men fear the final strand. The steward stopped, and smiled, and bowed. One word may tell of heaven or hell. Softly he spoke, a fitting thing, to give you food and rob the king. The one moved on, the one moved not. A soul may dwell in heaven or hell. The steward sold one half the bread. Next morning the beggar was dead. The jester told the king the tale. A soul shall dwell in heaven or hell. A woman gazing at the king, shrieked to his knees she did not cling. The king's sword pushed the steward on, who can foretell the depths of hell? And the king smiled as on the band outside a door he laid his hand. CPN. Let there be gall enough in thy ink. 12th night. 'Tis an odd old world, this of ours that is round like an orange, and slightly flattened at the poles. It drives not well, and it hath but moderate fondness for gall. Why, then, seek to drive it? Why harass it with the hurtful attrition of gall-dippin' pens? For in truth, its small love for gall is yet greater than its use therefore. It needs not that we should make it smart. 'Tis smart enough, and clever enough, already, towering the hearts of the angels, and affording a spectacle for the little fishes. Application of gall will not help it. Rightly used, a little may ease thy own jaundice, but in thy ink it erodes the pen that uses it. Are we vexed at the follies of the round old world? Is our taste offended by the unripe things written and painted and sung by those who are not perfect as we are? We ought to consider the words of the gentle Stoic, for it is natural that these things should be done by such persons. It is a matter of necessity, and if a man will not have it so he will not allow the fig tree to have juice. To what end do we Philistines write? Is it not because we are seeking after the truth? Is it not for the expression of that which to us seems beautiful and helpful and desirable to be in the world? And for what, let us suppose, do the armies of the aliens put pen to paper? Is it not for the same end? And if they see not purely, do we then hope to clarify their vision with gall? Rather we ought not to thwart them in the pursuit of that which seems to them excellent and worthy of effort. It is unphilosophic, and in contravention to the scientific spirit, to deny others the right which we claim for ourselves. We ought rather to do the thing which to us seems lovely, and let that protest, for us, against unloveliness, by its life and reality the only effectual protest this world has ever known. Already there is too much of strife, too much of denial in the world. Nature argues the questioning life in the affirmative, for well she knows, the ancient wise one, that denial is deadly. I believe is the password into the secret places of good. The single vision, that sees truest, the simple heart, that loves it, the direct thought that sends it forth to bless the world needs these more than that we should camp upon its trail with gall in our ink and our pens tipped with bitterness. Gall can never fill a vacuum. If you don't want a boy to do that, said a wise teacher, putting thumb to nose, teach him something prettier. This, then, must we do for this hulking schoolboy world of ours, the half-grown, growing world, that knows enough to recognize that gall is neither good nor beautiful, yet sees not that the thing it does is, as well, unlovely. Let us strive to look out on life with open vision and simple soul, seeing that it is fair, that no plant cometh forth to face the winter's blight, but when the winter is over then green, tender things of beauty push upwards to meet the sunshine, first the blade, then the ear, and after that the full corn in the ear. Then cometh the insect, with his drop of gall, and ugliness and excrescence follow. That which gives heat and light and blessing, that which generates force, and yields beauty in the burning wood that cheers our hearth, is the warm brightness of the sun's rays that, in the process of liberating oxygen into the outer air, were stored up in the growing tree. If these had not been actually caught and incorporated in the wood by nature's subtle chemistry, do you think the fire would warm us, sitting by it? And that in our literature, and in our art, that shall make them real, and able to offer coming ages anything in the warmth and light of this, must be what we shall manage to incorporate with their growth of the pure and wholesome, the life-making forces of our time. Negation is not life. Disease is not power. Abnormality is not truth. These are forces that make for death, and life, in its scientific ultimate, is the sum total of the forces that resist death. So, I say again, that work of ours which is to carry life forward, which is to warm and light the ages, must be what we can perpetuate of the life-giving, growing elements of this one. Let there be gall enough in thy ink. To what purpose? Gall is not a promoter of growth. It is a result of hurt, and where it touches it leaves even a bad thing worse than it found it. Adeline Knapp. The Worshippers. Now it came to pass in the still night watches, when my body was asleep, that my soul dreamed a dream. And in my dream I heard a voice say, "Unstop his ears that he may hear." And I became aware of the presence of an angel, and he touched mine ears, saying, "When thou hearest a sound, a great sound, as of many mighty waters rushing headlong, listen, and fear nothing." Then, verily, did burst on my hearing a mighty noise, a most discordant frush, and I stretched out my hand to the angel, who said, "Fear not. Now tell me what thou hearest." After pondering a long time I turned me to the angel and said, "This discordant sound is that of many and diverse petitions, of which some are directed to the eternal but more to the spirit of evil. I further perceive that well nigh each and every voice thinks its own tone the right and the only right tone, and some few voices there be which desire all the others destroyed. Yet, I hear faintly a few that are as pure and sweet as the voices of the morning stars when they sing together." And the angel said, "These are all the voices of the religions, the sects, the churches, and the individual hearts, upon your planet. They are many in number. They are wondrously many in number. Yet, the understanding of your little heart is darkened. None of these petitions are directed to the spirit of evil, though only God and we know the heart of man, and the love of only God is great enough to forgive your many strange desires. Those few and sweet voices those few sweet voices redeem the world." As I listened again to the strange murmur I wept, and cried saying, "Would that these voices were as one." And the angel answered and said, "They will be when in that state you call heaven." Then did my soul face eagerly the face of the angel and say to him, "They will verily attain heaven, then all these many jangling voices." Bending on me a wondering look he answered, "They will. All who strive for right and light shall be happy. Worship they not all as truly and deeply as they know? Strive they not all to love to be unselfish, although some half-heartedly? From the north and the south, from the east and the west shall they be gathered, and there shall carolue harmonious ascend to the eternal, as from one sweet and glorified tongue." And as I listened again I sighed and said, "God is very patient. God is very patient. He is love, and his ways are past finding out," murmured the angel. Again he touched mine ears, saying, have you learned? Go, return to earth, and live in the spirit of love. Love, and judge not. Love, and be very charitable, for you yourself jar on heaven's peace. And I awoke, and beheld the impartial sun. Charles P. Nettleton. Side talks with the Philistines, being soul easement and wisdom incidentally. The sons of Melchizedek are a most peculiar people. So far as I know, the Society for Psychic Research has not yet taken up the subject of these men who are without beginning of days or end of time. Yet surely it is a most vital theme. These beings who were never born and cannot die form a tribe that obeys no natural edict, they are a law unto themselves. They appear and disappear, like clanging harp, to reappear again. Like vagrant comets, their orbit cannot be determined. They are visible only under peculiar and extraordinary conditions. They materialize at will and disappear without explanation. After a lecture I have seen one of them rush forward and greet the speaker with a glow that must have gladdened the orator's heart for months. In fact, your son of Melchizedek is an orator himself and therefore knows the orator's need for a fervent word of appreciation after his effort. Once at a Methodist love feast, when there was a lull in the program and the minister asked, "And is there not just one more who is willing to add a word of testimony?" I felt a slight cold feeling go over me and knew at once that the unknown was rising to his feet behind. I heard him clear his throat and begin with, "My friends, I have been thinking while sitting here," in a low, musical voice, a voice all a tremble with fervor. He spoke for fully 15 minutes, spoke with ease, and to the point. At first there was a craning of necks and whispered questions as to who he was, but this was soon lost in admiration. After the service he shook hands with many, then disappeared, none knew where. This mysterious being often helps to carry in the piano, and in crowded streetcars he has been known to supply the necessary nickel when ladies could not find their pockets. When old gentlemen fall in a fit on the street, he is on hand. Should a woman faint in church, he gently carries her out. He opens the windows in cars, and looks after the ventilator at all times, and at barbecues and outdoor public meetings he calls up the stranger to the feast, introducing shy countrymen to others still more shy, thus thawing the social ice and making all secure. When church debts are to be raised he sometimes arises in his seat and subscribes a large amount. At mass meetings where volunteers are called for to pass the hat he always responds. He greets you cordially on the railway train, shaking hands as he passes, asks after the wife and babies and shames you into smirking idiocy because you cannot call him by name, and as he departs he waves his hand and charges you thus, "Take care yourself, old man." He is always large, usually stout, and the true type has a dun-colored chin whisker. At least he should have. He carries a glow of good nature that warms like wine, he is never cast down, nor is his heart dismayed. At country funerals he often appears, consoles the friends, takes care of the flowers, and arranges the chairs in a column circle against the wall. At the churchyard he walks with uncovered head by the side of the clergyman, fetches the reins from the nearest team to lower the coffin, and handles the shovel with an unction that savors of joy. Surely, the sons of Melchizedek, although not Philistines, are peculiar persons. Don't you think him rather thick-headed? He, who has lately been presented with a book of familiar quotations, yes, indeed, his head is as thick as leaves in Vallombrosa. The most biting bit of irony that passes as a current coin is that reference to Boston as a city of culture, or it would be, were it not for the insight shown in paragraphs. There were two Balestiers. The good one, beloved of the gods and men, died young, but the one that resides near Brattleboro will probably live to be 100. Rudyard benefited the man and as a sure result got his enmity. he is just literary enough in his instincts to read his brother-in-law's books for jibes and jeers at himself. He imagines that every villain in the Kipling books is a black attempt to paint a Beatty Balestier portrait, not knowing that an author, like deity, creates in his own image. So the Balestier reads and rages and cuts hickory clubs and lies in wait for Mowgli, who dares not venture out of sight of the bungalow except after dark. Has Rudyard Kipling written the best he ever will? Is a question that the bad Balestier proposes to answer by sending the soul of Kipling to join that of Tomlinson. Some folks are saying good hunting to you, Ka Balestier, but Kipling in the meantime has had the rogue elephant put under bonds to keep the peace, this as preliminary to the killing, should the rogue continue to fool around the rickshaw. In the story of Kate Carnegie, now running in the Bookman, Ian McLaren uses the exclamation "Dodd" about 3 times to a page. This is understood to be a little advertising scheme suggested by Mr. MacArthur. Your Scott is a very thrifty person. Mr. Percival Pollard, who fights in the commissariat, and once received a red badge, by being bum-assed with a pie, although he swears 'twas a tart, is uttering rank heresy in the New York Journal concerning Stephen Crane. The statement is made that Crane is only a producer of Bloomingdale symbolistic hash. But now behold, Mr. Pollard has discovered Nankivell, king of colorists and past master of all living draftsmen, bless my soul. When up pops a writer in the Art Amateur and declares that the only fit man to illustrate the Black Riders is the same Nankivell. They do say that Henry James has resolved to write a novel with an incident. Gosh! Is it true that a folio periodical issued in Philadelphia is to have a serial story entitled, People Who Have Bored Me, and that the first chapters will be written by Mr. Howells, with comments on Scott, Dickens, Thackeray, Dumas, Shakespeare, Moses, Phidias, the critics of the daily papers and Henry Clay? Algernon wondered vaguely if he had done right in leaving the handkerchief where she had dropped it, on the center table. If only it had been the armchair, now, what a different complexion it would have put upon this dilemma, if it was a dilemma. No, hardly a dilemma, rather a quandary, or even a question. And did she, too, brood upon the handkerchief? Did she justify herself in dropping it, in the way she did? He arose, wearily. I dunno, he said, defiantly, yet hopelessly, and sat down. Advance sheets from H. James. That the stage has fallen into a very bad way none dispute, and under present conditions I cannot do better than to commend this ordinance, passed in London in 1642, to the earnest consideration of His Honor, the Mayor, and the Honorable Common Council of the City of New York, whereas the acts of stage plays, interludes and common plays, condemned by ancient heathens, and much less to be tolerated amongst professors of the Christian religion, is the occasion of many and sundry great vices and disorders, tending to the high provocation of God's wrath and displeasure, and to the disturbance of the peace. Therefore, for the better suppression of the said stage plays, interludes, and common plays, it is ordered and ordained by the Lords and Commons in this present Parliament assembled, and by authority of the same, that all stage players, and players of interludes, and common plays, are hereby declared to be rogues, and punishable, within the statutes of the 39th year of the reign of Queen Elizabeth, and the 7th year of the reign of King James, and liable unto the pains and penalties therein contained, and proscribed against according to the said statutes. And it is further ordered and ordained by the authority aforesaid, that the Lord Mayor, Justices of the Peace, and Sheriffs of the City of London and Westminster, and of the counties of Middlesex and Surrey, or any two or more of them, shall, and may, and are hereby, authorized and required to pull down and demolish, or cause, or procure to be pulled down and demolished all stage galleries, seats, and boxes, erected or used, or which shall be erected and used for the acting or playing, or seeing. Acted or played, such stage plays, interludes, and plays aforesaid, within the said city of London and liberties thereof, and other places within their respective jurisdictions, and all such common players, and actors of such plays and interludes, or any one of them, or by oath of 2 witnesses shall be proved before them to have acted or played such plays and interludes as aforesaid at any time thereafter, by their warrant or warrants under their hands and seals, to cause to be apprehended, and openly and publicly given 40 lashes on the bare back, during the time of the said market, and also to cause such offenders to enter into recognizance with 2 sufficient sureties never to act or play any plays or interludes any more, and shall return in the said recognizance, or recognizances, into the sizes or sessions to be then next holden for the said counties and cities respectively. And in case any such person or persons so convicted of the said offence, shall after again offend in the same kind, that then the said person or persons offending shall be and is hereby declared to be, and be taken as an incorrigible rogue, and shall be punished and dealt with as an incorrigible rogue ought to be. And it is hereby further ordered and ordained, that all and every sum and sums of money gathered, collected, and taken by any person or persons, of such persons as shall come to see, and be spectators of the said stage plays, and interludes, shall be forfeited and paid unto the church wardens of the church of the parish. The presciences of the 17th century often held morning conversazioni, receiving their callers in bed. Like cyclones, fashions have a spiral movement, and now the good old custom of the presciences has returned, and like the cyclone, manifests itself in the West, a Chicago woman giving a weekly Thursday morning. The bed on which the hostess languishes is a Louis XIV times a gigantic 4-poster, with curtains partially drawn. When each caller is announced, a thin blue-veined hand is held out from behind the curtains, and visions of a snowy lace-trimmed, Mark Hale Field nightgown swim before his eyes as the thin hand is reverently kissed. The room is dimly lighted, the air is heavy with strange mysterious perfumes, and all the conversation is held in undertone. It may not be amiss to state also that the coverlet of the bed is a very modern crazy quilt that has been duly certified to by a commission de lunatico inquirendue. Certainly the people of Boston are a generous folk, in their walk and conversation they even add an R to banana, and spell law with 4 letters when 3 suffice for hoi polloi. The pink tea for authors was a pretty failure. A fictionist standing behind a teacup with a pink tidy on his chest and pink bows on his legs is a depressive sight, everywhere but in Philadelphia. But while 5 o'clock tea does not work, 11 o'clock beer is a roaring success. Little Journeys series for 1896 Little Journeys to the Homes of American Authors. The papers below specified were, with the exception of that contributed by the editor, Mr. Hubbard, originally issued by the late G. P. Putnam, in 1853, in a book entitled Homes of American Authors. It is now nearly half a century since the series, which won for itself at the time a very noteworthy prestige, was brought before the public, and the present publishers feel that no apology is needed in presenting to a new generation of American readers papers of such distinctive biographical interest and literary value. Number 1, Emerson, by G.O.W. Curtis. 2, Bryant, by Caroline M. Kirkland. 3, Prescott, by G.O.S. Hillard. 4, Lowell, by Charles F. Briggs. 5, Sims, by W. M. Cullen Bryant. 6, Walt Whitman, by Elbert Hubbard. 7, Hawthorne, by G.O.W. M. Curtis. 8, Audubon, by Park Godwin. 9, Irving, by H. T. Tuckerman. 10, Longfellow, by G.O.W. M. Curtis. 11, Everett, by G.O.S. Hillard. 12, Bancroft, by G.O.W. Green. The above papers will form the series of little journeys for the year 1896. They will be issued monthly, beginning January 1896, in the same general style as the series of 1895, at 50 cents a year, and single copies will be sold for 5 cents, postage paid. G. P. Putnam's Sons, New York and London. The Roycroft Printing Shop has in preparation Glenn's Wife, a story in verse by Mrs. Julia Ditto Young. Mrs. Young is a poet who has written much but published little. This, her latest and believed by her friends to be her best work, is the product of a mind and heart singularly gifted by nature, and ripened by a long apprenticeship to art. As a specimen of the pure lyric cry, illustrating the melody possible in the English tongue, the volume seems to stand alone among all books written by modern versifiers. The delicacy of touch, the faultless rhythm, the splendid vocabulary and the gentle though sure insight into the human heart, make a combination of qualities very, very seldom seen. The author knows, and knowing blames not, a sustained sympathy being the keynote of it all. The publishers have endeavored to give the story a typographical setting in keeping with the richness of the lines. 590 copies are being printed on smooth Holland handmade paper, and 25 on Tokyo vellum. The copies on Holland paper will be bound in boards covered with antique watered silk. The vellum copies are bound in like manner save that each will bear on the cover a special watercolor design done by the hand of the author. The price of the 590 copies is $2 each, the vellum copies $5 each. Every copy will be numbered and signed by Mrs. Young. Orders are now being recorded and will be delivered on September 1st, numbered in the order received. The Roycroft Printing Shop, East Aurora, New York. Quarterly. Illustrated. If Europe be the home of art, America can at least lay claim to the most artistically compiled publication devoted to the subject that we know of. This is Modern Art. Galignani Messenger, Paris. The most artistic of American art periodicals. A work of art itself. Chicago Tribune. 50 cents a number. $2 a year. Single copies, back numbers, 50 cents in stamps. Illustrated sample page free. Arthur W. Dow has designed a new poster for modern art. It is exquisite in its quiet harmony and purely decorative character, with breadth and simplicity in line and mass, and shows the capacity of pure landscape for decorative purposes. The Boston Herald. Price, 25 cents in stamps, sent free to new subscribers to Modern Art. L. Prang and Company, Publishers. 286 Roxbury Street, Boston. We make a specialty of decal edge papers and carry the largest stock and best variety in the country. Fine handmade papers in great variety. Exclusive Western agents for L.L. Brown Paper Company's Handmaids. G.O.H. Taylor & Co., 207 to 209 Monroe Street, Chicago, Ill. Have you seen the Roycroft Quarterly? The May issue is a Stephen Crane number. 25c a copy or $1 a year. The Roycroft Printing Shop, East Aurora, New York. The Roycroft Printing Shop at this time desires to announce a sister book to the Song of Songs, which is Solomon's. It is the Journal of Koheleth, being a reprint of the Book of Ecclesiastes with an essay by Mr. Elbert Hubbard. The same Romanesque types are used that served so faithfully and well in the songs, but the initials, colophon and rubricated borders are special designs. After 712 copies were printed, the types were distributed and the title page, colophon, and borders destroyed. In preparation of the text, Mr. Hubbard has had the scholarly assistance of his friend, Dr. Frederick W. Sanders, of Columbia University. The worthy pressman has also been helpfully counseled by several eminent bibliophiles. Bound in buckram and antique boards. The 700 copies that are printed on Holland handmade paper are offered at $2 each, but the 12 copies on Japan vellum at $5 are all sold. Every book will be numbered and signed by Mr. Hubbard. The Roycroft Printing Shop, East Aurora, NY. The Ride. Hey ho, the world is green today, steady, my boy, stand still. Old fool heart sings his roundelay rides not his love a down yon way. Steady, my boy, stand still, and you shall have your will. You see him do you open-eyed, steady, my boy, stand still. You beckon him unto your side, in with the spur then, after ride. Faster, my lad, oh still, catch her atop the hill. John Mack, Jr. End of the Project Gutenberg ebook. The Philistine updated editions will replace the previous one. The old editions will be renamed. Creating the works from print editions not protected by U.S. copyright law means that no one owns a United States copyright in these works, so the Foundation, and you, can copy and distribute it in the United States without permission and without paying copyright royalties. Special rules, set forth in the general terms of use part of this license, apply to copying and distributing Project Gutenberg trademark electronic works to protect the Project Gutenberg trademark concept and trademark. Project Gutenberg is a registered trademark, and may not be used if you charge for an ebook, except by following the terms of the trademark license, including paying royalties for use of the Project Gutenberg trademark. If you do not charge anything for copies of this ebook, complying with the trademark license is very easy. You may use this ebook for nearly any purpose such as creation of derivative works, reports, performances, and research. Project Gutenberg ebooks may be modified and printed and given away. You may do practically anything in the United States with ebooks not protected by U.S. copyright law. Redistribution is subject to the trademark license, especially commercial redistribution. Start, full license. The full Project Gutenberg license. Please read this before you distribute or use this work to protect the Project Gutenberg trademark mission of promoting the free distribution of electronic works, by using or distributing this work, or any other work associated in any way with the phrase Project Gutenberg. You agree to comply with all the terms of the full Project Gutenberg trademark license available with this file or online at www.gutenberg.org/license. Section 1. General Terms of Use and Redistributing Project Gutenberg Trademark Electronic Works 1.a. By reading or using any part of this Project Gutenberg trademark electronic work, you indicate that you have read, understand, agree to and accept all the terms of this license and intellectual property, trademark/copyright, agreement. If you do not agree to abide by all the terms of this agreement, you must cease using and return or destroy all copies of Project Gutenberg trademark electronic works in your possession. If you paid a fee for obtaining a copy of or access to a Project Gutenberg trademark electronic work and you do not agree to be bound by the terms of this agreement, you may obtain a refund from the person or entity to whom you paid the fee as set forth in paragraph 1.e.8. 1.b. Project Gutenberg is a registered trademark. It may only be used on or associated in any way with an electronic work by people who agree to be bound by the terms of this agreement. There are a few things that you can do with most Project Gutenberg trademark electronic works even without complying with the full terms of this agreement. See paragraph 1.c below. There are a lot of things you can do with Project Gutenberg trademark electronic works if you follow the terms of this agreement and help preserve free future access to Project Gutenberg trademark electronic works. See paragraph 1.e below. 1.c. The Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the Foundation or PGLOF, owns a compilation copyright in the collection of Project Gutenberg trademark electronic works. Nearly all the individual works in the collection are in the public domain in the United States. If an individual work is unprotected by copyright law in the United States and you are located in the United States, we do not claim a right to prevent you from copying, distributing, performing, displaying, or creating derivative works based on the work as long as all references to Project Gutenberg are removed. Of course, we hope that you will support the Project Gutenberg trademark mission of promoting free access to electronic works by freely sharing Project Gutenberg trademark works in compliance with the terms of this agreement for keeping the Project Gutenberg trademark name associated with the work. You can easily comply with the terms of this agreement by keeping this work in the same format with its attached full Project Gutenberg trademark license when you share it without charge with others. 1.d. The copyright laws of the place where you are located also govern what you can do with this work. Copyright laws in most countries are in a constant state of change. If you are outside the United States, check the laws of your country in addition to the terms of this agreement before downloading, copying, displaying, performing, distributing or creating derivative works based on this work or any other Project Gutenberg trademark work. The Foundation makes no representations concerning the copyright status of any work in any country other than the United States. 1.e Unless you have removed all references to Project Gutenberg, 1.e.1. The following sentence, with active links to, or other immediate access to, the full Project Gutenberg trademark license must appear prominently whenever any copy of a Project Gutenberg trademark work, any work on which the phrase Project Gutenberg appears, or with which the phrase Project Gutenberg is associated, is accessed, displayed, performed, viewed, copied or distributed. This ebook is for the use of anyone anywhere in the United States and most other parts of the world at no cost and with almost no restrictions whatsoever. You may copy it, give it away or reuse it under the terms of the Project Gutenberg license included with this ebook or online at www.gutenberg.org. If you are not located in the United States, you will have to check the laws of the country where you are located before using this ebook. 1.e.2. If an individual Project Gutenberg trademark electronic work is derived from texts not protected by U.S. copyright law, does not contain a notice indicating that it is posted with permission of the copyright holder, the work can be copied and distributed to anyone in the United States without paying any fees or charges. If you are redistributing or providing access to a work with the phrase Project Gutenberg associated with or appearing on the work, you must comply either with the requirements of paragraphs 1.e.1 through 1.e.7 or obtain permission for the use of the work and the Project Gutenberg trademark as set forth in paragraphs 1.e.8 or 1.e.9. 1.e.3. If an individual Project Gutenberg trademark electronic work is posted with the permission of the copyright holder, your use and distribution must comply with both paragraphs 1.e.1 through 1.e.7 and any additional terms imposed by the copyright holder. Additional terms will be linked to the Project Gutenberg trademark license for all works posted with the permission of the copyright holder found at the beginning of this work. 1.e.4. Do not unlink or detach or remove the full Project Gutenberg trademark license terms from this work, or any files containing a part of this work or any other work associated with Project Gutenberg trademark. 1.e.5. Do not copy, display, perform, distribute or redistribute this electronic work, or any part of this electronic work, without prominently displaying the sentence set forth in paragraph 1.e.1 with active links or immediate access to the full terms of the Project Gutenberg trademark license. 1.e.6. You may convert to and distribute this work in any binary, compressed, marked up, non-proprietary or proprietary form, including any word processing or hypertext form. However, if you provide access to or distribute copies of a Project Gutenberg trademark work in a format other than plain vanilla ASCII or other format used in the official version posted on the official Project Gutenberg trademark website, www.gutenberg.org, you must, at no additional cost, fee, or expense to the user, provide a copy, a means of exporting a copy, or a means of obtaining a copy upon request, of the work in its original plain vanilla ASCII or other form. Any alternate format must include the full Project Gutenberg trademark license as specified in paragraph 1.e.1. 1.e.7. Do not charge a fee for access to, viewing, displaying, performing, copying or distributing any Project Gutenberg trademark works unless you comply with paragraph 1.e.8 or 1.e.9. 1.e.8. You may charge a reasonable fee for copies of or providing access to or distributing Project Gutenberg trademark electronic works provided that, you pay a royalty fee of 20% of the gross profits you derive from the use of Project Gutenberg trademark works calculated using the method you already use to calculate your applicable taxes. The fee is owed to the owner of the Project Gutenberg trademark, but he has agreed to donate royalties under this paragraph to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. Royalty payments must be paid within 60 days following each date on which you prepare, or are legally required to prepare, your periodic tax returns. Royalty payments should be clearly marked as such and sent to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation at the address specified in Section 4, Information about donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. You provide a full refund of any money paid by a user who notifies you in writing, or by email, within 30 days of receipt that he does not agree to the terms of the full Project Gutenberg trademark license. You must require such a user to return or destroy all copies of the works possessed in a physical medium and discontinue all use of and all access to other copies of Project Gutenberg trademark works. You provide, in accordance with paragraph 1.f.3, a full refund of any money paid for a work or a replacement copy, if a defect in the electronic work is discovered and reported to you within 90 days of receipt of the work. You comply with all other terms of this agreement for free distribution of Project Gutenberg trademark works. 1.e.9. If you wish to charge a fee or distribute a Project Gutenberg trademark electronic work or group of works on different terms than are set forth in this agreement, you must obtain permission in writing from the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the manager of the Project Gutenberg trademark. Contact the Foundation as set forth in Section 3 below. 1.f.1.f.1. Project Gutenberg volunteers and employees expend considerable effort to identify, do copyright research on, transcribe and proofread works not protected by U.S. copyright law in creating the Project Gutenberg trademark collection. Despite these efforts, Project Gutenberg trademark electronic works, and the medium on which they may be stored, may contain defects, such as, but not limited to, incomplete, inaccurate or corrupt data, transcription errors, a copyright or other intellectual property infringement, a defective or damaged disk or other medium, a computer virus, or computer codes that damage or cannot be read by your equipment. 1.f.2. Limited warranty, disclaimer of damages, except for the right of replacement or refund described in paragraph 1.f.3, the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the owner of the Project Gutenberg trademark, and any other party distributing a Project Gutenberg trademark electronic work under this agreement, disclaim all liability to you for damages, costs, and expenses, including legal fees. You agree that you have no remedies for negligence, strict liability, breach of warranty or breach of contract except those provided in paragraph 1.f.3. You agree that the foundation, the trademark owner, and any distributor under this agreement will not be liable to you for actual, direct, indirect, consequential, punitive, or incidental damages even if you give notice of the possibility of such damage. 1.f.3. Limited right of replacement or refund. If you discover a defect in this electronic work within 90 days of receiving it, you can receive a refund of the money, if any, you paid for it by sending a written explanation to the person you received the work from. If you received the work on a physical medium, you must return the medium with your written explanation. The person or entity that provided you with the defective work may elect to provide a replacement copy in lieu of a refund. If you received the work electronically, the person or entity providing it to you may choose to give you a second opportunity to receive the work electronically in lieu of a refund. If the second copy is also defective, you may demand a refund in writing without further opportunities to fix the problem. 1.f.4. Except for the limited right of replacement or refund set forth in paragraph 1.f.3, this work is provided to you as is, with no other warranties of any kind, express or implied, including but not limited to warranties of merchantability or fitness for any purpose. 1.f.5. Some states do not allow disclaimers of certain implied warranties or the exclusion or limitation of certain types of damages. If any disclaimer or limitation set forth in this agreement violates the law of the state applicable to this agreement, the agreement shall be interpreted to make the maximum disclaimer or limitation permitted by the applicable state law. The invalidity or unenforceability of any provision of this agreement shall not void the remaining provisions. 1.f.6. Indemnity. You agree to indemnify and hold the foundation, the trademark owner, any agent or employee of the foundation, anyone providing copies of Project Gutenberg trademark electronic works in accordance with this agreement, and any volunteers associated with the production, promotion, and distribution of Project Gutenberg trademark electronic works, harmless from all liability, costs, and expenses, including legal fees, that arise directly or indirectly from any of the following which you do or cause to occur. A. Distribution of this or any Project Gutenberg trademark work. B. Alteration, modification, or additions or deletions to any Project Gutenberg trademark work, and C. Any defect you cause. Section 2. Information about the mission of Project Gutenberg trademark. Project Gutenberg trademark is synonymous with the free distribution of electronic works in formats readable by the widest variety of computers, including obsolete, old, middle-aged, and new computers. It exists because of the efforts of hundreds of volunteers and donations from people in all walks of life. Volunteers and financial support to provide volunteers with the assistance they need are critical to reaching Project Gutenberg trademark's goals and ensuring that the Project Gutenberg trademark collection will remain freely available for generations to come. In 2001, the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation was created to provide a secure and permanent future for Project Gutenberg trademark and future generations. To learn more about the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation and how your efforts and donations can help, see sections 3 and 4 and the Foundation information page at www.gutenberg.org. Section 3. Information about the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. The Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation is a nonprofit 501(c)(3) educational corporation organized under the laws of the state of Mississippi and granted tax-exempt status by the Internal Revenue Service. The foundation's IN or federal tax identification number is 64-6221541. Contributions to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation are tax-deductible to the full extent permitted by U.S. federal laws and your state's laws. The Foundation's business office is located at 809 North 1500 West, Salt Lake City, Utah 841-16801-596-1887. Email contact links and up-to-date contact information can be found at the Foundation's website and official page at www.gutenberg.org/contact section 4. Information about donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. Project Gutenberg trademark depends upon and cannot survive without widespread public support and donations to carry out its mission of increasing the number of public domain and licensed works that can be freely distributed in machine-readable form accessible by the widest array of equipment including outdated equipment. Many small donations, $1 to $5,000, are particularly important to maintaining tax-exempt status with the IRS. The Foundation is committed to complying with the laws regulating charities and charitable donations in all 50 states of the United States. Compliance requirements are not uniform and it takes a considerable effort, much paperwork, and many fees to meet and keep up with these requirements. We do not solicit donations in locations where we have not received written confirmation of compliance. To send donations or determine the status of compliance for any particular state, visit www.gutenberg.org/donate. While we cannot and do not solicit contributions from states where we have not met the solicitation requirements, we know of no prohibition against accepting unsolicited donations from donors in such states who approach us with offers to donate. International donations are gratefully accepted, but we cannot make any statements concerning tax treatment of donations received from outside the United States. U.S. laws alone swamp our small staff. Please check the Project Gutenberg web pages for current donation methods and addresses. Donations are accepted in a number of other ways including checks, online payments, and credit card donations. To donate, please visit www.gutenberg.org/donate. Section 5. General information about Project Gutenberg trademark electronic works. Professor Michael S. Hart was the originator of the Project Gutenberg trademark concept of a library of electronic works that could be freely shared with anyone. For 40 years, he produced and distributed Project Gutenberg trademark ebooks with only a loose network of volunteer support. Project Gutenberg trademark ebooks are often created from several printed editions, all of which are confirmed as not protected by copyright in the U.S. unless a copyright notice is included. Thus, we do not necessarily keep ebooks in compliance with any particular paper edition. Most people start at our website, which has the main PG search facility, www.gutenberg.org. This website includes information about Project Gutenberg trademark, including how to make donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, how to help produce our new ebooks, and how to subscribe to our email newsletter to hear about new ebooks. The Philistine. Contents for August. The Philistine. Mice rare. An hour with me seen as. Sunrise over the city. The captives. If love were all. Prisoner of Zenda. The man on a bicycle. The steward. A ballad of death. Let there be gall enough in thy ink. 12th night. The worshippers. Side talks with the Philistines, being soul easement and wisdom incidentally. The ride. The full Project Gutenberg license 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96.